Well, jumping into draft, we've seen this Jarvan ban priority rise up throughout the weekend, where it definitely feels like this is a champion that early on in the series they want to make sure is removed from the pool. Commonly, things like Orianna and Wukong, Yunara being removed is another champion that we're seeing highly prioritized in the first game of these best of fives.
Yep.
With Taliyah and Azir still open, those are looking to be the premier mid laners that both Jojo and Caps are looking to get their hands on.
Yeah, curious to see if I imagine it will be the Azir ban coming through here, and then you get the Orianna first rotation, and then do you try and steal away the Wukong on responses, G2? Or do you favor the Pantheon Taliyah combo for yourself? Because that is something that I think G2 kind of made their names on earlier in the split, was this presence in the side lane.
I think that regardless of what MKOI prioritize, which is very likely going to be the Azir in this situation, with the Ambessa ban, I wonder if Sion is going to be that response from G2. We know that they love that on the top side of the map, and Ambessa is a champion that we've often seen used as an answer into the Sion top.
And as an answer into the Azir, we've actually seen a lot of the Ziggs as well, which Caps has been willing to bring out, but was going to immediately go back towards the Taliyah instead, happy to just handshake that matchup with the other premier mid laner.
Also, when we've seen a lot of Xin Zhao still hovering around, there's a good pairing in the jungle available if they want to lock that in now. SkewMond has a wide champion pool. We've seen Volibear, Poppy, as well as Xin Zhao Jarvan picked up for him so far in playoffs. Let's see which direction G2 go. Because also Premier AD carry is an option, but they stick with jungle. And now MKOI have that option to get their highest prio AD carry if they so choose.
There's still a loss when it comes towards the AD carry, so I actually think they'll probably focus on towards things like the support over the AD carry in this sort of situation.
Okay.
Like going for an early Alistair, maybe looking at an early Rakan as well if they really want to. Plus, I imagine the Wukong here, just to add a little bit to that spice as well.
Yeah, good call.
Wukong seems to be the primary jungler for game ones in our best of five so far in the playoffs. A very well-rounded jungler that usually spikes around the level 6, but there's that sign we were talking about. By prioritizing the Xin Zhao, it has been left open for Myrwn to grab for himself. Now, traditionally, Broken Blade has brought out things like Aatrox into the matchup. We've also seen a few tank options come through, like the Cassante. I wonder if he's going to go for something a little bit creative. There's the cheeky hover of the Vayne.
Yeah, stop it. He's not taking Vayne. Game one top into a tank matchup. Okay, no. Really? Really? Okay. This happened last series against KC. Game one, it was a Kled paired with a kind of assassin. LeBlanc, right? This is different, but parts of it feel the same.
I feel like it's a little bit more well-rounded this time, though, compared to what we saw last time.
Yeah, it didn't impress me in the matchup. It kind of felt like it was supposed to be this answer, but the Sion was perfectly fine, didn't actually end up falling too far behind, and sure, in the lane swaps, Kled is fine because even if you go for the dive, he can dismount and has that reset that can help him to survive a lot of those plays. But I'm still waiting for Broken Blade to show me why this Kled is an answer to the Sion.
Well, at the very least, G2 and KOI both have a lot of engage at their discretion, along with a control mage mid. Thanks to the Taliyah having that ultimate, she does have a few more roaming options. We'll see what the bot lane priorities now become. We're seeing the Nico banned away by the side of G2. Will this lean more towards range support? With the Alistair banned away does suggest that G2 could be looking at a Rakan, maybe even looking to pair that up alongside the Sion.
Rell, also a decent option here for G2 if they can get their hands onto it. I'm just not 100% certain. Do you want to just go for someone like a Xayah ban? Okay, they're going to go for the Rakan just to try and pinch that champion pool for Hansam in that bottom lane as well. I think you've got a lot of stuff that wants to try and go forward in your front line with both the Kled and the Xin Zhao. So I think kind of something that has a bit more self-peel, probably going to work out for Hansama. But I imagine the Rell is going to be this first rotation just based off the bans.
My question is, when are we seeing the return of the Cogmore Braum?
True.
The good old tank melter. I don't expect it here in game one. Now, hang on a minute. Nah, surely not.
No.
There's that Rell. So, stock standard on the bot side of the map from G2. A lot of engage coming through. It's also just a Labrov classic. The Rell is something that he's been playing a lot throughout his career. Back on BDS, he had something like an 11 games in a row on the champion. It's something that he's extremely comfortable on and just provides that extra bit of engage for the side of G2. KOI, meanwhile, considering the more defensive option. Braum was the hover with Sivir being locked in. Pair that alongside the Braum, you've got a very solid front-to-back team composition with great scaling, great wave clear. And while you don't necessarily have a lot of early game options, remember that Braum can pair nicely with Wukong with how quickly you can apply those stacks. And also, as long as your backline is protected by this very solid front line, you know that KOI is going to be dishing out some serious teamfight down.
Zeri game 1, though, is not what I expected to see, but when you're talking about this teamfight comp from MKOI, I see a comp that has quite a bit of mobility, a lot of area control as well, thanks to Taliyah's in Zhao, as well as Rell, and a bit of self-peel added in as Summer goes for this R5 Zeri.
Yeah, I think the Zeri is a little odd just because I look at MKOI and how their fights are going to play out, and it's like very long range on the Azir, a lot of ricochet blades that can hit onto a Zeri that's playing quite close to that front line. So it feels like the Zeri can be difficult to pilot in towards the composition that MKOI have, especially if you've got the Wukong diving on towards you. So for G2, I think it's going to be a bit of a difficult one where MKOI just have such a solid front-to-back team fight.
In these types of games where both comps want to do similar things, you have to look at those individual pieces that can create variance. How is the Taliyah wall used prior to the fights that could potentially cause this disruption, break up the composition of MKOI? How will that Azir wall change the dynamic? Will that frontline be as effective? And the big question, which frontline is going to fall first? We know that Sion is incredibly tanky, but Kled can be incredibly annoying. So execution is going to be crucial as we jump into our first game of this best of 5.
It is match of the week for a reason. MKOI G2, your spring championship returns. Grand final rematch. And your international representatives for summer. Our first question is, who will return to the big stage in Madrid and wait for that lower bracket runner? They're already both in Worlds. They're already both going to the international. It is simply just about who is going right now, in your thoughts, as the highest seed. A lot of people saying this just could be a grand final rematch as well with how they're playing.
Definitely feels like could be giving us a taste, and Alvaro might be about to get a taste as Labrov over the wall.
Yeah, it does find him. Crash down is good. So on to Alvaro. The poke is there with a threaded volley. Summer looking for some follow-up here. No zap as of yet. Alvaro just paces it out, but Labrov might get a deep ward here and start with some good information. I do correct myself. He started with the lens. As SkewMond clears out wards and topside as well. A double stop. Labrov, yep, finds Alvaro. And at 1 minute 10, he can't back.
Pops the pause. I'm keeping my eyes on the two mid laners because you see Caps was trying to zone Jojopyun off of coming down towards this bottom side of the map. Place a ward as well, just to spot out the jungle path team, but a nice little trade in the get-go for G2, already burning that pot onto Alvaro.
And the trading will begin, keeping my eyes immediately on these junglers because these are the two players that I'm keeping my eyes on in this matchup specifically. SkewMond versus Elyoya. SkewMond has had an incredible summer. As a player, I feel like he's had massive impact to the success of G2. And I think that for Elyoya, I mean, he's just become such an established player here in the LEC. He's becoming one of the greatest the EU's ever had in that jungle position. And he's a large part, he's kind of that machine that brings KOI together. When he's on form, MKOI look fantastic. It looks like that both are starting on that top side. They're going to be pathing towards bot. And we know that in the Fnatic series that MKOI recently played, bot lane was the center of all the action.
Whether they want to be or not.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see if that is the same this game. There's a lot of trading happening in the 2v2.
A crash down with Winter's biting Decisive blows is dangerous, but Alvaro even in more trouble. Summer gets the flash out of the Braum. Labrov takes a heavy trade. His flash remains intact.
Oh, pause comes through, but honestly, I think you're kind of happy with that, is it? Like, sure, you get the flash, but you're going to force Summer and Labrov to back away. You should be able to crash this wave, and I think G2 have to go for the early reset. So you may actually just have gotten this wave advantage now for Supa off the fact that Summer and Labrov are so low.
Exactly. When we look at the actual summoners trade, you can see that Labrov burnt his heal, in contrast to Alvaro using 2 summoners. But, as you rightly said, Supa with such a massive health advantage, he's got to feel pretty happy about
It's
that.
also just, you have unsealed spellbook. So it's like, well, you're going to get a summoner spell back anyway, right? It's not the end of the world when you've got the unsealed spellbook value. So I think for Alvaro, even if it did look a little dicey, it may still net a win for Supa on that bottom side.
But if this was solo queue right now, you would be spam pinging bot lane, you'd be typing to your jungler furiously, you'd be writing him a letter saying, "Dear jungler, immediately, I would like to inform you that towards the southern parts of the map, summoner spells may perhaps be unavailable."
Where are you getting
what do we do if he doesn't have ultimate? He doesn't have level 6 and he's not Karthus. What do we do?
First blood is gone by the time you press enter. The most ambitious
I'm remembering that Karthus meme, you know, dearest Karthus.
And look at all the time Alvaro has as he's walking back to lane, you know? It's
nice. Meanwhile, we were questioning this top lane pick again, but the bear trap on the rope is nice. Broken Blade sends it all in. Decimating Smash is the response, and BB is just going to try and get that shotgun and remount with every minion kill.
Yeah, and that's basically how you want to try and play the matchup again. When you're Kled, just go hyper-aggressive on the wave. Because you get the remount and so much of your health back, even if it ends up as an even trade, you inevitably win it in the long run. And here we go, Supa, getting some good trade. And now because Hansam and Labrov stuck around to try and push that wave out, they're actually in a bit of a dire spot.
Hang on, with violent tendencies. Wait. Bear Trap forces Flash. It is that max health damage that is the problem for this Sion, as Broken Blade is showing us why.
The remount positioning from Broken Blade allowed him to get even closer to Myrwn than I think the Sion would have liked. Bit of a trade now between the junglers as Alvaro returns to lane.
SkewMond did indeed get that smite down, so advantage here as he runs away. Elyoya just going to hover. Caps also getting this last minion, and SkewMond looking for double scuttle as he roams up the top.
But yeah, Broken Blade did a very good job and ultimately came very close to securing a solo kill onto Myrwn, forcing that flash out. He's going to need to go back to base and TP in, but at the very least, Myrwn does get that wave underneath that tower now, so he's going to be able to catch the wave as it bounces back. Or maybe he'll just look for another shove. Meanwhile, Supa still sitting in this bot lane. He found himself in a 2v1 situation because, as you highlighted, Dagda, Alvaro kind of forced to go back to base. The bot lane of G2 still chose to stick around though, meaning that Supa's like, okay, in a 2v1, I kind of have to respect this. But ultimately, the wave's not in a bad spot. Supa doing a pretty good job in the farm department.
Well, the thing was, because the wave was pushing out from him, when Alvaro reset up, Hansam and Labrov had to back off, which meant that they end up losing the wave that was pushed because it was pushing away from them.
Exactly.
And now you can see that big CS lead that's opening up on the bottom side, thanks to that early play. So again, even though it looked a little bit dodgy, as maybe mid lane looks a bit dodgy as well, it actually wins out for MKOI in the long run.
Yeah, we are getting pretty extensive trades throughout all these lanes. I mean, it's been pretty aggressive. There's no real gold lead, but as I look across these lanes, slowly starting to edge out. Seems to be bot for now with Supa and Alvaro. That confidence is netting about a 5 to 8 CS lead as soon as that wave is cleared.
I mean, it's pretty much a wave advantage in favor of Supa right now. Both mid laners, every single mid that we've spoken to on the Euphoria podcast has always said that these are the two mid laners that will always test you. And I look at the left and right of our screen and I see these HP bars and it's these mid laners.
Hold, very hold. Unbreakable is up with the concussive blows as well, getting close to target. But Alvaro is in kill range and kill indeed. Hansam a one hit away. Supa will flash for it and trades 1 for 1.
I think you take that as MKOI. Sure, Alvaro goes down, but Hansam falling in tow means that this CS lead again is going to open up for Supa on the bottom side.
Everything going well for Supa in this bot lane 2 versus 2. Naturally, you would think, oh no, my support dying is not the position that I want to be in, but turning it back onto the enemy AD carry results in the advantage that Dagda was just talking about. He's still going to be able to push out that wave. He's going to get a nice base. Broken Blade eyeing up this Sion now.
He has level 6. If he does a melee charge, it depends. Myrwn could try and interrupt here, but I think way too dangerous. Decimating Smash now gone. Myrwn low on mana, but Broken Blade is chunking here, looking for this push in before Myrwn can ult back to wave. Or rather, the swap's going to happen, so it is just going to be bot coming up instead.
A BF sword picked up first base for Supa, along with the cult. This Sivir, we talked about the scaling on the side of KOI, this Azir and the Sivir. Being in the positions that they're in right now, KOI is very happy with how this early game is going.
Yeah, especially because Elyoya is about to take over to level 6 and you have no flash and no ghost and Hansam on that bottom side of the map. This could set up for an easy play. Elyoya just sticking around the mid wave though. Won't be able to hit 6, but
flash. Nicely done. Jojo's got back up though. The shove into turret is nice. The crash down even nicer. Alvaro takes 2 turret shots. Jojo there for emotional support. His ult now down. And meanwhile, G2 survive what could have been great setup from MKOI.
It's a nice dragon take from... Oh, actually, is he just going to pull off? I was about to say it's a nice dragon take from G2. So the aggressive TP coming through from Labrov sets up then for them to move across towards the objective. And in the grand scheme of things, when you have the lead that Supa had, I didn't expect G2 to be able to set up for the dragon. So nice job by SkewMond to find that moment alongside being able to cover caps in the mid lane.
Alvaro going to use his TP to get to top lane to work with Supa to get this push in. You can see that he sacrificed some CS, but Supa halfway to level 7 already because of how much time he's actually spent solo in that bot side, and the fact that he got the kill onto Hansam as well, getting more time to push out that wave. He's just being funneled so much experience. He's very close to even Jojo in the mid lane, who spent the entire game solo in his mid lane matchup. So good job by Supa. He will be the player that I'll be keeping my eyes on in this game because honestly, the junglers have been quite quiet so far. And I think for Elyoya, that's the best case scenario for him. He wants to get that level 6 on the Wukong. Now he's poised and ready to be involved in the action. But for SkewMond, wanting to perhaps be a little bit more aggro in the early game, is Labrov now in a bit of danger.
With that Winter's Bite as well, connecting on top, and here comes Elyoya, a couple of bonks, and he'll be stunned up. There he stands. But the commitment stops there from Movistar KOI as nearby with SkewMond on his red buff.
G2 are having a lot of whoopsies with the lanes assignments though. Hansama reset on mid wave and now has to try and move to the top side. Has lost an entire wave there. Supa got more alone time with that tower on the top side. And now MKOI off the pressure Supa has on top, move across the Void Grubs. It feels like G2 kind of sloppy on the map, which is surprising for them.
Then you've got numbers mismatch as well until Hansama comes in. Grub's taken as one for now. SkewMond looking for the steal. Boomerang helps out and no smite committed. SkewMond holds onto it for this final grub, and Elyoya is going to wrap around, but he is too late. So while it was a sloppy start there for MKOI to get forced out, audacious charge, but simply onto a clone, G2 get the majority of that objective in topside.
Overall, we can see a small goal lead for KOI, but the objective lead going the way of G2. Already working towards that feats of warfare. And it's kind of a slow start to this series, kind of what I expected, especially when we think about the compositions that they've drafted for. It is that team fighting where a lot of this is going to be accelerated. And again, I draw back to these key pieces. I think about Taliyah, her ultimate. How can that change the setup or the dynamic of how KOI want to play the front to back? The Azir wall. If Jojo can find a nice Shurima shuffle, perhaps an Elyoya flank, getting an early knock-up onto Hansama, burning that early flash. There are these key pieces that can really change the dynamic of how you would traditionally expect a front-to-back teamfight comp to play out.
I feel like this comp so far, absolutely chilling, and to come back to it, the first early levels, first 6 have just been nice, especially with Supa trading up and once again doing that in an isolated lane. There's another bit of plating for the Sivir, 600 gold the lead, and this is what we know of Movistar KOI. If Supa's in a good position, if Supa can carry and get into those fights mid to late with a lead, the game feels so much more reliable for the Spanish squad.
Especially on the Sivir here, there's just very little things that actually have a lot of backline threat. Like, unless you can land the Wind Becomes Lightning or Labrov gets some crazy kind of engage off, realistically, Supa should be fine for a lot of these fights, just continue to dish out the damage. And I think that's where G2 will be worried if Supa continues to find these leads.
Okay, Broken Blade looking better and better each time we come out. The jousting gets him out of range before full charge of Decimating Smash.
Now, I do want to talk a bit about the history between these two teams, because when we look at the rivalry that has existed between MKOI and G2 with Mad alongside it, it is pretty competitive, but it is G2 that does lead in terms of the overall advantage. Of course, when we think about this year, it's been a very competitive year, with MKOI, of course, getting that big finals back in spring. In the series before that, it was G2 that got the advantage. In the best of threes that we've seen, they've been very close, often going all the way to the full 3 games. It has been super competitive between these two rosters, and ultimately it all comes back to the addition of Jojo at the beginning of the year. A lot of question marks surrounding the addition of this player, but my goodness, the development he's made from the beginning since he first joined the LEC to where he's at now. Incredible patience. His laning phase continues to be extremely strong. The way he navigates with his team. Like, he's been a fantastic competitor to Caps in the mid lane.
Wait, but Caps is still showing up big. Miss from Labrov, but Caps does get the flash. The flash, that's close enough out of an enemy mid. Now, the thing about Jojo is coming in winter, this guy was terrible. And let's be real, he wasn't a terrible player. He didn't perform well. But the glow up in the LEC individually has been insane. That if you told me in winter with that performance, he would be a top 2, maybe performing for the best mid laner, or as the best mid laner in summer, I'd laugh at you. But it has just been such a great hero story, and it has just shown the hard work that MKOI have put in over the year to get in this spot. This Ghost popped onto SkewMond, Winter's Bite, the engage begins, Cyclone onto Labrov, and the damage immense as he flashes away. SkewMond has to ulti as well. Shattering Strike does nothing, and standing there to die is Labrov as Supa takes him away.
MKOI just found a great moment to pounce. Jojo was on reset, so I think G2, after chunking him out, were like, okay, MKOI aren't going to go aggressive, but Hansama had moved into position, and MKOI get the kill, get the dragon, and get out.
The timing from MKOI was spectacular. They're set up around the objective, they knew the window, and as Dagda highlighted, just a really good force prior to the objective starting. Needing to be fast in this moment is crucial. They see a member of G2 out of position, they turn their attention onto Labrov, SkewMond's forced to ult early, Caps has to flash from Alvaro, aggressively flashing forward, and now it's Elyoya caught in the river.
Free talent strike, it's a knock-up. Labrov coming in over the wall, the shock forces the flash, the wall, save from Jojo. He gets out as well, but with the lightning crash down, Summer is going to find a kill eventually as Elyoya kites it out, but there it is. The kill over to Hans. Elyoya drops. Jojo can't save his life.
So at the very least, G2 converted into a kill for themselves with the objective going the way of MKOI. This does open up some plates on the bot side of the map as we get closer to 14 minutes and those plates falling off. Alvaro, though, will support Jojo to make sure that no dive threats are in the area. And instead, Labrov will focus on getting a few deep wards. He will be spotted. So MKOI should be aware of this deep vision. Now, Labrov is in a bit of an awkward spot.
We don't have Caps' logo for his ulti, but I assume it's still up.
So you don't level this until you need it, so it won't show
so he
until
hasn't
he
used it, so he hasn't done it. Okay, makes sense. I was wondering, I'm like, why have we only got a bug? Remember we talked about this, I think, last split as well. Let's see if he needs it now. Caps get the flip back. Alvaro, no, not at all. Crashdown going to miss, though, and defensive ulti from Alvaro keeps him alive for a little bit longer. Caps ends up getting the kill, though, and now he's on the board.
G2 have been finding some nice picks in River. Catching Alvaro now out of position and gets them another kill. And crucially, the fact you get that first kill going to Summer and now a kill going to Caps, it's on to key members, and Jojo's overextended.
There you go, there's finally that level. Jojo good fight forward. Shattering Strike still connects Crashdown on top of that as well, but no sides with shove means Jojo's going to stand his ground. Take a bit of damage with the threaded volley. It's getting close. Caps again, one more shot! And Caps will take it. No redemption for you.
Flick down at the end there, just barely catching onto the pigeon, and he will end up going down. G2, they are picking up the pace here.
They certainly are. They are just catching MKOI out of position. What was a 2-2 in kill score quickly turned into 2-3 and now 2-4. And the good news for KOI is it's not converting into any real objectives. It is just a pick here, a pick there. And so the goal isn't swinging that dramatically. Meanwhile, KOI, they still have full control over the mid-wave thanks to Supa, who's just been free farming on the Sivir. 152 CS at 50 minutes into the game means that he's got pretty much perfect farm so far into this game. And the Herald, now alive, means that that should become the next big point of contention between these two teams.
Core ults that are going to be up. Labrov should have his mark. Everyone else should be there outside of Caps on G2 as well. Jojo's wall will be back up too, as simply a clone for the Shattering Strike here in mid. But that Herald, as you said, is going to be the next focus, and obviously G2 want to take as much as they can because we're talking about the front to back and draft of what MKOI provide in this game one. When you have a Taliyah, a Kled, I feel like pressing that R button, having that go button in this early to mid game is so damn important for this red side draft.
And I think for MKOI, they don't have the options to go for those orb compresses. Myrwn has to catch his top wave, so he can't really set up for this play to collapse onto G2. Now has control of the top side, but it looks like G2 have already kind of established themselves in here, and they don't really want to contest them.
MKOI, they want to gain some access. Labrov acting as gatekeeper for now with Summer at his helm. The mid-wave is going to be the priority for Supa as he clears that one out, and yet MKOI couldn't really find a good angle into the river.
Yeah.
With Caps pushing that top wave as well. Myrwn being on the top side and Jojo being on the bot side, you really want that Azir involved in the fight, and I think MKOI made a wise decision not trying to overforce that fight. Taking the patient approach in this game, I think, is just the wiser choice. You know you have great scaling. If there's not a good angle for you to take, there's no need for you to overforce. And that type of discipline is what you want to be seeing from one of our top teams here in Europe.
True. One of these clumsy forces we've seen is Labrov. This is deep. He's going to take a blast cone, not out. Alvaro's going to wrap around, and Jojo's still here. However, Broken Blade on the horizon. I think Labrov should be fine as long as he gets crushed down over the wall, which he does, even after a concussive blow, and Broken Blade's there to hover. Nothing down in bot for another 40 seconds, but note that Dragon and the setup here. MKOI will have advantage as that objective comes up.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jojo didn't come across, but I wasn't sure if they just weren't entirely certain where SkewMond was on the map. So maybe SkewMond ends up coming out to try and help out his support. But it doesn't mean Labrov a little bit chunked. Still though, no real advantage here on wave pushes, right? You've got Azir now who's just shoved in bot. Caps can immediately clear that out. Mid is still being contested on both sides. So MKOI and G2 uncertain as to exactly how much they want to go for Dragon here.
I mean, I'm looking at these scoreboards, and naturally my eyes are drawn towards Supa and how strong the Sivir is quickly becoming, but Caps on the other side, 192 CS at 17.5 minutes, rapidly approaching his second core item with a 1.1k gold lead thanks to the 2 kills that he's been able to pick up in this game. Both top laners have TP. There is a bit of a health advantage skewed towards Myrwn. Alvaro, Supa on one side, Elyoya on the other. We'll see how MKOI approach this.
But look, Elyoya and Jojo getting zoned off from Caps into a seismic shove. Elyoya's chunked to half HP. No jungler for MKOI. The variance in his play has just been reduced, and that's a free dragon with one press of a button.
Labrov and Caps are doing a great job of just playing gatekeepers. Labrov denying Alvaro and Supa entrance into the pit, and on the opposite side, Caps are just playing for the choke points out after these Adakan walls to make sure that if Elyoya tries to enter, he's going to get stunned up and damaged as well. It makes it really difficult for MKOI, who are a bit separated.
Caps a little bit low. I was questioning just to see. Jojo some good side sets. Labrov thinks better of it, and a note the 2 dragons for G2 at the start of this game.
Do love watching both Jojo and Caps play. They just love to play on that edge at all times. We've seen some incredibly fancy feet from Jojo in this game as he's had to sidestep a lot of skill shots and targets. Elyoya now sets his target as the top lane.
As Flash as well. Broken Blade also just jousted his way in. That's a mistake, but nice little buffer on the charge. He gets out, and it's ulti for ulti between top.
We just haven't really seen Elyoya be able to make much magic happen as
Jojo, oh, he predicts it. He knows. He thinks Caps is waiting around. Redemption brings him to fall. Not 1v1, now unfair as top lane. MKOI getting the brick of it as I think that is Myrwn just standing his ground. He's tanky enough. They need to commit, but under turret, it's difficult. Shattering strike onto Elyoya. The damage on SkewMond into Elyoya is better, but decimating smash, the zone. Broken Blade about to dismount. Meanwhile, as bot ends up with Caps dead. There's help from Hans Summer. Broken Blade, he's tanked up the aggro one time, but now the re-dive. It's a double over to Hans Summer, and you thought the Sivir was strong. Welcome to the land of Zeri.
Wow, action across the map. Caps falls on the right side of the rift, meanwhile on the left, G2 is making a dive happen, but that's not slowing MKOI down. Supa secures a tower in the mid lane, and G2 is keeping the aggression going. Just like that, as we approach the 20-minute mark, the pace has been accelerated.
G2 do not want to let this up. Tower number 2 going to fall on the top side, and that is so much gold, as Hysterics just said, into this Zeri. What was a winning matchup for Supa now has all that gold lead for Hans Sama, and if he can play up in these team fights and be effective, it is going to make life hell for MKOI.
I'm curious as to how Caps ended up falling on the bot side of the map, because from our POV, initially it looked like that he had gotten out, but I guess MKOI continued to chase on the play. They were able to find a pick. The kill looks like it went over to Alvaro at the very end of it, but that dive so well executed on the top play as well, especially when they were underneath that tower. Labrov's use of the heal to provide that movement speed for SkewMond to get out of the Sion's range, to then turn the play back around and secure some kills. G2 very well managed of the tower aggro, and ultimately a successful play on the top side.
And overall, just on the map in general, G2 have kind of been beating MKOI to the punch. Like, even on that play that Elyoya tried to make on top side, he still sticks around to try and help out Myrwn. G2 overload that top half, and MKOI just don't have a response. And even when we see these dragon setups, it's G2 that are getting to that position first, being able to get the denial of access to MKOI. MKOI kind of are getting left in just being too slow to get access to a lot of these plays.
You ready to see another one? No, there's no dragon, but it's all about the Adakan in this bottom side of the map. Myrwn has push, and MKOI grouped up as 4.
Look at top.
Yeah.
They are leaving that to Caps' win, but as Jojo comes and match, it will be TP for TP if it gets to that. Cap's going to look for his escape. Jojo interrupts the wall and sends him back. Now no ultis on either for the seismic shove. Gives Caps a little bit of time. He TP's in front of him, but with lethal tempo. Jojo won't let him escape.
It's a good attempt from Caps, but Jojo's got one better. Huge pick on the side lane and kind of shuts down a lot of that pressure. And for MKOI, the fact that you can bring Jojo across and actually start to threaten them towards Adakan and Dragon is huge.
Broken Blade just trying to do some damage to Myrwn before anything else starts out down here, but MKOI have numbers advantage. That Dragon's up in a minute. Adakan, as you're talking about, is going to be the priority. And this should just be a take here as G2 with that loss are losing massive chunk of gold to this.
That was a very important pick by Jojo, because not only do you take the TP away from Caps, but look at how the dynamic of the game seems to have changed. That mid lane gap was absolutely massive, a 1.1k gold lead for Caps. Whoa. But now 2 back-to-back deaths have resulted in Jojo now getting the gold lead. This is the level 15, a full level over Caps. And I mean, we talked about the scaling potential before. Supa still in a fantastic position, even though Hans Sama has been injected a bunch of gold, and he himself is a level down to Supa. So I think the KOI is still well on their way to securing a fantastic team fight as we get later and later.
However, wait for the interrupt. Myrwn seismic shove avoided. Caps would have found the flick back and maybe the kill with Bear Trap on a rope expiring. This bot turret holds on. I mean, his outer turret has really gone through the ringer as G2 keep trying to push him in.
But it's just a couple seconds now until the Dragon. So with Myrwn having to reset at no TP, it should give G2 a little bit of time alone with this turn. And they might be able to get it. Although it looks like MKOI doing a good job to defend, as G2 gonna get access to River.
An early base comes through from Hans Sama. It looks like that he wants to, complete his Infinity Edge ahead of this fight. G2 have position on it, but they are a man down. They need the Zeri to come back into the fight. The Hex Gate's being used. Hans is very close.
But is he close enough? Jojo on the way as well. No flash, but an Azir wall at the ready. Hexgate used by Myrwn. He's got a blast going to reposition back into the river. G2 hold their way in the triangular brush as Decimating Smash starts us off, but out of range. Cap's going to go in first. Seismic shove connects, but it's onto a Sion at 4k. This Dragon ever so important. G2 needs soul point, but a little bit early. Broken Blade has to flash away. Decimating Smash as well. Look how healthy MKOI are with the Cyclone out. SkewMond early to Labrov. It's a great death now. A good shove from Caps as well. And now with the Weaver's Wall and closing around Movistar KOI, Elyoya's escape. It was imminent, it was there, but it's taken away. An ace for G2, and I think that man played with Rock so damn hard.
Unbelievable team fight. It was so tense for so long. We were waiting for who would be the one to initiate the fight. And keep your eyes on Elyoya on the left side. They're looking for an engage. He's waiting for that backline access, but he gets stunned up by Caps as the two frontliners lose half their HP. The moment Elyoya goes in, immediately stunned, and then G2 look for the re-engage.
And it's a phenomenal re-engage from Labrov as well to set up perfectly. The fact you have that Infinity Edge alongside the Ruinous Hurricane means Hans Sama is tearing through people in this.
I was looking that whole entire fight for like Jojo's ult. I thought, oh, with Cyclone the layering, Jojo never ulted. Like, that is such a game-changing ult to bring to the fight, and G2 wiped him away before he could press the button.
It really felt like that from a positional point of view, KOI had the better position, but it felt like that Caps' Taliyah makes it so difficult to actually approach because there's so much threat that you have to be worried about, and with the Kled just being annoying, engaging, flashing out, re-engaging, it all just set up beautifully for Labrov to find that perfect engage to allow for the follow-up from G2.
And you can see how long Elyoya was waiting to try and find that moment, and that is kind of just the unfortunate thing here, trying to play into G2. There is a lot that can disrupt you for trying to go for the engage. You need to set up for a bit more flanks, and unfortunately with where everything was positioned, G2 were able to fall back into that Adakan if everything's got dicey.
Now of course, this is a significant swing in gold, but KOI did secure the Dragon, denying soul point away from G2, and the Baron is still alive. So KOI are definitely not out of this game just yet.
But Elyoya just face checked into Broken Blade. He can buy some time, however, going to be demounted first. Cyclone number 2 connect. Redemption coming down. There's one in reverse. Broken Blade healed up, trying to remount to save his life. Meanwhile, the front of the fight, it's all Hans Sama all again. He'll manage from over the wall, keep his ult in full uptime as Jojo needs to escape into SkewMond. That's not the way as Caps sends it home to take another. A double for Hans with the final left remaining. And yes, a Dragon denial last time was good, but you can't stop Hans Sama from running all over you.
Hans Sama is feeding himself in this game, dashing over the wall into several members of MKOI, securing the fight and winning the Baron for G2.
Just as I was saying, MKOI could still find a fight in this game. G2 silenced me. They find such an effective turnaround in the jungle. What was supposed to be a pick for KOI ends in disaster.
And it's where they go onto Broken Blade here, you're like, okay, maybe we can make something work here. And I got a bit nervous for G2, but it's as Hans Sama spots Myrwn, goes over the wall, and just immediately opens up onto Supa, Elyoya, and Alvaro. Takes them down immediately, and SkewMond being able to follow up means that Jojo just doesn't have anywhere to escape, and Hans Sama over the wall is able to finish them off, and Myrwn left on the wrong side of town.
that flank from Myrwn looked like it could have been game-changing, but you highlighted it, Dagda. The immediate response is Alvaro now the target.
And by the way, as Alvaro dies here, we have had 2 big fights in a row in this game, and they have both been 5,000 gold fights. 10,000 the lead for G2. And what started as a very competitive game, a game of Supa scaling earlier than he should have, this Sivir having perma mid control, has just been enveloped by G2 hands dipping MKOI 2 times in a row.
I was just catching MKOI out constantly. Like, we've seen it in River, we've seen it now on the bottom side, we saw it on the top side, now they're catching at Jojopyun. It's just a constant pick play from G2.
Another pick secured for G2, 18 kills to 5. 28 minutes in, and it feels like the game is as good as done. With this kind of a lead, it's going to be much harder for KOI to find that miracle fight, and without that wave clear available from Jojo, G2 are looking to break the base.
Well, as G2 look for that inner turret, one thing you're going to go do, you're going to be there, okay? If you're not there, I will find you. Number 2, LEC Summer Finals, we reach towards Madrid. Remember, these teams, this winner of this series, will be the first to lock their spot in on the big stage, and wait till you see what we have in store on that stage. Oh my God, it's beautiful. As for MKOI, their defense begins, but 3,013, excuse me if I can count, is the gold lead right now. Caps are sieging on top, and mid was broken long ago. Bot is being sieged by Broken Blade. This is utter domination in the span of 8 minutes.
I mean, for a lot of this game, it was extremely close. We saw some great back and forth, great punishes from KOI, nice picks being shown by G2, but ultimately it all culminated into that 4th dragon fight where G2 just got the better of KOI, it ballooned the gold lead, and now we find G2 in this very dominant position. The Baron is going to be wearing off, and I don't think that G2 is going to get much more off the back of it, but they'll set their sights on the Dragon, put themselves on Dragon Point. Now they have to make a choice. Do they try and look to end the game now, or do they look to try and wait for the soul and then look to play through that?
I'm laughing because I just glanced at Hand Samus items. That man is
He's
2
about
items
to be
ahead
full build
of essentially everyone else in the game.
Lord.
He's doing good. He's eating well tonight, you know?
And he bought LDR in this game just to make sure there were no allegations against him, you know, leading up towards another international. Good on you, Hans. This Broken Blade's going to now zone him off, and MKOI, this is their dying knell, isn't it? At 29 minutes.
Well, the problem is, without Baron, KOI have so much wave clear.
They do.
Both Azir and Sivir, like, these are the turtle champions.
There's also Mega Dive and Pick, isn't there? I mean, there's a Weaver's Wall.
Oh,
Caps, okay, maybe a little bit further than I expected. I didn't expect he'd ride the roller coaster as minion wave is clear. That wave clear conversation is very important here as MKOI continue to defend.
I think Caps forgot there was a Braum in the game because he just put the wall straight into Alvaro. It was like, oh wait, yeah, that's how that interaction works. So, but yeah, I was going to say, it's not great sieging.
I do wonder if KOI also was surprised. Because I felt like the Cap should have insta-died there, and the fact that he was able to flash at all, I mean, a bit of a missed opportunity, but of course, KOI buy themselves a little bit more time, and time is really all they can play for. But yeah, the wave clear after wave clear, I mean, the 500 CS Sivir win condition is a thing for a reason.
But it's also the, like, lack of range on G2 just makes it really sad. Like, Zeri doesn't really want to step up to a turret and be in range of potentially a Wukong, the Azir coming through, a shuffle, anything like this. So it just means you are kind of Baron reliant. But a minute 45 until that one comes up, and I don't know how MKOI is supposed to try and take this next fight.
Question beats me. Supa now picks up 4th item, by the way, just so we keep track.
And there's a GA for Hans.
Okay, well, that guy's full build. So, to the surprise of absolutely no one. Note as well, Broken Blade, who has assists this game, but I don't know what you guys think. I mean, like, if I go and say Broken Blade's done a lot this game, I think I'm being disingenuous. He has just been on a ride. He's been riding his bicycle, playing with the village boy up in top lane, Myrwn.
I think he's done what he needs to do.
Exactly.
And that's like...
It's a fair statement.
He's done well into the matchup. He's put pressure on the map where he needs to. He's helped go for a lot of these dives. Like, this is all you really need Broken Blade to do. And I think, again, it kind of comes back to it's been G2 playing the map better to look for dives, look for plays that got Hand Samus gold, and then better set up at the objectives that has actually net G2 this win, and that's where Broken Blade will be involved in those map plays.
Good context.
From my perspective, I feel like the game has just been super close throughout, and it really was just that one dragon fight that really defined it. And I want to go back because I feel like just Jojo's positioning there was ultimately the downfall. He was knocked back alongside Myrwn when that engage from the Rell came through. And I think that if he'd lived a little bit longer, maybe there were ways for KOI to be able to turn that fight around. But you just can't deny that G2 just played the fight better in that moment. And you called it Hans diff, both in a literal hands diff and a figurative Hans diff in the fight.
I just always like when you be a hindsight Andy. You know, it really goes with your mantra and who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of your place, isn't it? 3 seconds to look at foresight Andy as well, because Baron's coming up, and Baron is just the way that they siege in. There's a problem with the Sivir, but Baron makes most of that go away.
It definitely helps, at the very least. The inhibitors are going to be respawning, and you can see in the bottom left of your screen, the mid one in about 30 seconds. So G2 are going to want to do as much damage as they can, but I imagine they're going to be forced to have to remove these inhibitors once more. Dragon is in a minute away, but I don't think they need it with this kind of a gold lead and with the Baron at their backs.
Labrov looking for an engage. He wants to source with that flash in. He finds it. Magnum Storm onto 3. Cap sends the wall down as well. Alvaro's pinched in the corner while Elyoya is sent packing. Flashing over the wall after bear trap on the rope while Hans Arm's going to clean out the diff in the back end. Jojo, the last remaining, really standing in the way of G2, and yet another grand final, at least from a Game 1 Andy perspective. An ult from Myrwn to get out of dodge, but G2 have the Nexus in their sights.
Supa was eviscerated in that fight. He just disappeared off the map, not even being given the chance to flash away as the Nexus now opens up.
You don't want to say that was an easy game, and it wasn't. It's disingenuous, but in the end, Hans Sama is ending the start of this series with 13 kills. A shutdown over to Jojo, but G2 are looking hot.
That was incredible from G2. The early game, very back and forth, but once G2 got control, they never let it go.
Game 2 coming up right after this break.